welcome back to the Man That Can Project podcast. Today we've got a special guest, Leroy, Fit Dad Lifestyle. How are you, brother?
Good, mate. Good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Mate, we like to start our days in a very similar way by the sounds of it. You've just knocked out a 9K run up in Noosa and also managed to treat yourself to a croissant. That's the perfect morning in my eyes.
Yeah, mate. It's, as you know, Queensland winters got down to about 11 degrees this morning. So, mate, jumped out of the house, went for a 9K run. At the first kilometre, it was just sort of getting rid of that numb feeling. And then, got the amazing sunrise over the river on the way back. And, yeah, so if you go from the Noosa Yacht Club to basically the Noosa National Park and back, it's about 10 Ks. So I just went to about the surf club. And then, yeah, mate, traditional croissant on the way home from my favourite bakery, and then jump straight in the sauna before jumping on the podcast. So it was good.
Oh, dude, what's your favourite bakery up there?
I think it's called Bushlands Bakery, or maybe it's on Bushlands Drive, but I'm not sure of the actual bakery name. But yeah, it's sort of just a little hidden one there in a little subdivision, and it's good.
Yeah, take the croissant. Did you get any music in, or were you just raw dogging it with no AirPods?
I actually listened to the Sean Ryan show. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his podcast.
No,
so he's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he interviews.
Okay.
A lot of military and veterans. He's actually based over in Austin, I think. But yeah,
right.
So, and I think he's got one coming out this Friday your time, with the son of the resistance force of Afghanistan. So he just actually went over there, which he's opening up about how the American government's still sending, 80 million a week to the Taliban or something crazy like that. I could have the numbers, fudged. But yeah, so mate, that's probably going to be one of his biggest podcasts to date. And I think he had like Jordan Peterson and a few of these other sort of big names that you hear on all these other podcasts recently as well.
Wow, that does sound like it's going to be a pretty awesome episode. I'll have to check that one out for sure. But mate, obviously the brand you've built around the Fit Dad lifestyle, and we've got so much in common, man. That's why I'm very excited to dive into this conversation. But you believe that when you're in the best shape physically and mentally, you're going to become happier, have better relationships, feel more comfortable, and become a better role model through your actions, not just your words. And you start to build upon those lifestyle changes and positive habits that allow you to create a better legacy for your amazing children. How did you get to this point of understanding? Because I believe the exact, very similar thing, that if we can work on our mind and our body, the rest of our life really is positively impacted by that. I know you've come from a military background. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about your story and how you sort of developed those beliefs and that philosophy around life.
Yeah, definitely. So post-military, I got out of the Army in 2011. I started a boot camp business because I stuffed my back in the Army, so I had to leave. I could no longer be in the infantry, and it was just lucky enough that I had a personal training certificate behind me. And I did that on the side whilst I was in the Army as sort of a fallback plan if I was to ever leave or something went wrong. Naturally, having that as the only thing behind me and joining the military at 19, I had no other, skill set or no other, qualifications or uni degrees or anything like that. So I was forced my hand into doing that. I couldn't go do laboring. I couldn't go do any, mine work because the back was just that limiting factor, in all those different career paths. So yeah, mate, basically spent 3-4 years building up a local boot camp business, and that's where the love and passion for helping others and I guess fitness and both physically and mentally sort of really crept into my own life just by being able to be that coach to I think about 1,000 people over the course of about 7 years.
Wow.
And it's sort of just allowed us to really work out how we can really impact other people's lives through our actions. And a lot of these things were, you can be the best coach in the world, but when you're actually living and breathing that lifestyle that you're trying to promote to your clients, and I'll touch on your question in a second, how that correlates back to the kids and, all the men that we're dealing with now. But, it really did just allow us to showcase to, the local community and the community of Noosa, what it takes to not only look after yourself, but then be that source of, motivation or inspiration to those around you, and especially your children. So, we took that philosophy into international fitness holidays. We used to take retreats to like Bali, Thailand, and Everest Base Camp as both, fitness retreats and leadership, sort of events and stuff like that as well. And then we sold both those businesses in 2017 and, decided to go online from there.
What forced actually before we dive into that, actually, I want to go back just quickly because I'd love to
Yeah.
find out a little bit more. Obviously, your whole life up until the injury forced you to leave the Air Force. That was your identity, and I feel a lot of people can relate to that. Maybe not military, but for me, it was sport. Other people, it may be their whatever their career is, or it could be being a parent. That becomes everything to them because they aren't looking outside of that, which is it's natural, right? When we find something we love, we go all in on it generally. Having an injury pop up or being faced with adversity, what was that like? What went through your mind at that point? Was it an easy transition for you, or did you really struggle moving through that?
Yeah, I definitely struggled with that injury. So I pretty much, or very similar to you, and probably very similar to a lot of males out there. I grew up with the intentions to play professional sport. That was my only goal in life. I didn't want to go to uni. I didn't want to do a trade. I want to be an AFL player. I grew up in country Victoria, and I actually
Yeah,
got
right.
invited to Geelong for a rookie spot. So I spent a couple of weeks there training in the preseason for a rookie spot, and then after that, I moved to Queensland to play state league and in the AFL. And it was back in the day, and I'm not sure if rugby was the same back in the day, but you got to 19 or 20, back 20 years ago now, and if you hadn't made it by then, you were pretty much done. Whereas now you've got all the mature age players, and you can still get drafted at 25, 27, whatever it is. But back then it was sort of a little bit different. If you hadn't made it by then, and I don't know if it was more that parental influence. It was like, okay, you've given it a crack, you haven't done it. Now you need to figure out your life. And that's where the military, happened, because I had a couple of cousins and an uncle in the army at the time, and we were chatting. They were, asking what I was doing, and they basically described the military and the army as a footy team that you get to play with every day. So you had that sense of community, sense of belonging, sense of involvement. Every day you got to train. Every day you got to hang out with the boys. Every day, you got to basically just be around each other, and whether it be talking shit out on the beers on the weekend, over on deployments, on exercise. It was like that constant footy team, and I think that sense of sporting environment was really what drew me to the military. But then, once you leave that, or you get forced to leave due to an injury, when you've only known that lifestyle of 10 years of sport and then 6 years in the military, it's like you have just been everything's just been taken away from you, and you're out on your own. You've got no support network. You're paying full rents. You're paying for your medical. You're paying for all these different things that you haven't had to worry about. Like I even had to go get a Medicare card when I left the military, because we just didn't need it. It was something that you joined at 18, you're still on your parents' Medicare card then, but then you have free medical, free dental, subsidized rent, all this kind of stuff once you're in the military. So you don't need to worry about all these sort of normal everyday stresses. And once you get thrown out the deep end, it's like, yep, thanks for your service, see you later. The very next day, it's like this massive culture shock and massive kick in the face of like, oh shit, I've actually got to fend for myself now and actually figure out how this world works. Because even though it is still a 7 or 4 in the military, you're very protected from the outside world to a big capacity, I guess, until you either get married and kids and live off base and start living a bit more of a hybrid lifestyle.
And it's wild how that all happens and there's no real like reintegration back into, I guess, civilian life and figuring out what those next steps are for you. And I feel like that, whether it is coming back to civilian life or just people going through transition in life in general, which it's going to happen at some point, whether you're a professional athlete or whatever phase you're going through, we go through seasons of life, and people's ability to deal with change isn't as good as it probably could be. So, learning how we can improve that or strategies around that can really help. And is that so? Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, that's where fitness sort of came in, and it became a pillar for you that you could sort of lean on while you were, building out those next steps. What was it that made you then go online with your business? Because obviously boot camps are an awesome one, especially obviously if you're up on the Sunshine Coast
Yeah.
outdoors with the beautiful weather up there, would have been incredible. What was it that made you decide to go online?
Yeah, so I went overseas and did a bit of contracting. So I was doing 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off in the Middle East, and we had quite a bit of downtime. So you'd only have one or two jobs a day. You'd be hitting the gym all the time. And having come out of those businesses that I had a non-compete, so I couldn't actually start up anything, physically back, in town when I was back. But there was no or nothing stopping me from doing stuff online. So we were basically living a lifestyle of I'd go away, work for 8 weeks, and on the 4 week break, we'd go to Thailand, we'd go to Bali, we'd go to, wherever it is and just spend, 4 weeks as a family before I shoot off again. And when we were over there, we just kept filming just random workouts with the family. At the time, we had two kids that were 1 and 3. So it was, you know, pretty easy to do the style workouts that we are doing and where I guess the Fit Dad stuff started. And we just posted a few online. And because we had a lot of our old clients who became, close friends on the social media, they were like, oh, can you write me up a program? Can you, share what you're doing over in Bali? Can you share, something I can do with my kids at home because I'm not training at the business anymore that you sold? And we ended up just making a small group and we are just posting random videos in there. And then people started adding, their friends and friends of friends, and it just kept naturally growing. And, I think that group now has got about 6,000 dads in it from around the
Wow.
world. And it's just constantly just trying to motivate, educate, and encourage based upon all the skill set that, we've had in the past, I guess. And so it was sort of never a real plan to go online. Actually, here's a funny story. When I was in Afghan, I developed an ebook. So it was like, I think it was Fit That Blueprint or something like that. I literally spent 4 months building this ebook. I had professional photo shoot done. I spent, months and months, like, you know, collating everything of my knowledge and then everything I could study and putting into this 150-page ebook, thinking, this is before, this is probably the time of when like the K-League signs ebooks and all those sort of, were really
Yeah.
popping out there. So I'm thinking, shit, I've just made this ebook. It's the greatest thing in my opinion. I'm going to sell millions of copies. And mate, I think I sold 2 copies in the first 2 months. And it was just demoralizing.
Yeah,
I
right.
nearly walked away from fitness in general after that because I was like, I've just poured my, heart and soul into this thing that I know is going to change lives and no one wants to buy it. And it was like, I've got this big group of 1,000 people and, I built this for you. Like, why is no one buying? And it was just a soul crushing, you know, moment because, you know, as we all do it, we always believe our stuff is the greatest at the time. And
The best.
yeah, mate. And it was like, just a massive kick to the face. I thought I was going to be a millionaire overnight, selling 100,000 copies and having the greatest online package known to man. So
But mate, the main thing is you had a dig. What did you learn from that experience of obviously launching an ebook? Because I know for a fact there are a lot of people, blokes that listen to this podcast who would love to create an ebook or work online, but they just don't do anything about it. So obviously you took that first risk and it didn't pay off maybe to become an overnight millionaire. But what did
yeah,
you learn from that process?
mate, I think probably the biggest takeaway is to not get your expectations, so high, and also not spend 4 months building something in the darkness before you put it to the public without testing maybe a 10 pager, a little teaser one, or actually sending it to a few people and asking for feedback, or allowing them to, do it for a few months. Like, I did it under the secrecy and then just come out and launch this thing thinking that it would be the greatest thing in the world. And, I didn't have marketing. I just thought that all the friends, family, followers, which weren't many at the time, would just all jump on board and, support it. And yeah, how wrong I could be, just,
Yeah.
giving it a crack and just falling flat in the face, basically.
What was it that made you continue going? I think sorry, before even going into that question, I've learned very similar lessons to you. I was always like, this is going to be the best product. This is what I would have wanted. And you're like,
Yeah.
everyone else must want that. And then you put it out and it's a complete flop. And what I've started doing now is just like starting a product similar to what you said, where it's like you don't build it in the shadows. It's like you build it publicly, and I have a wait list. And then if I get enough traction with the wait lists, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, let's put the time and effort and energy into building it out. If I don't, it's like, okay, that's fine. Let's pivot. What do the people actually want? Where's the real value coming in? So what was it
Yeah.
that made you not quit then?
Um, I guess I had, and now so comparison back then, it's something I hate now, and it's something I try and steer everyone away from. But back then, I was in a circle because I'd taken all these different influences, over on fitness holidays. I'd been surrounded with a heap of different people in Noosa and the Gold Coast and Brisbane, and just in all these circles where everyone was crushing it. Everyone was, crushing the game, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, socials were blowing up. And I felt like I was exactly the same as, these other 10, 20, 30, people that you sort of hang around. And mate, it was probably just my stubbornness to give up and going, well, if A, B, or C can do it, I can do it too. It just might take a little bit longer, and maybe if I just start, implementing how they're going about their training or their offering or their marketing or their plans, then maybe I can do the same thing. And once again, proven wrong, but it was probably the thing that kept me in the game and allowed me to continue on.
Yeah, it's when you surround yourself with people who have the results that you want, you realize pretty quickly that they're just human.
Yeah,
There's generally not any thing usually that makes them stand above and beyond what you do. It's generally their habits or stroke of luck or so many other things. So I've experienced that similar feeling to you, where it's like, oh, if they can do it, I can definitely do it. And that's what's pulled me along over the years, as well as I'm always trying to learn these little things, but remain consistent in what they tell me they do to improve. And obviously over time as well, you really work out what does work well for you and what doesn't work well. It's like when you're building a business, you've got your lag and your lead metrics, like the things that you do now that can almost determine an outcome. And the more experienced you are, the longer you've been in business, those lead indicators are a bit more fixed. And then obviously the lag indicators are the delayed ones. Are this result happened because of these actions. Now that I have that, that can become a lead indicator potentially or something like that. But yeah, so diving back in, obviously for you, when it's looking at coming out of military, you've launched this ebook. What then happened next after that failed ebook? You're surrounding yourself with people running retreats. What direction did the business go in?
yeah. So I stopped the contracting side of stuff when COVID happened. Obviously, the whole world shut down, and I wasn't doing quarantines and all that kind of stuff. And naturally, coming back, we had a bit of money behind us because we saved. It was quite, it was good pay whilst we were over there. But um, I couldn't go back to personal training because there was no gyms. I couldn't, do anything. So online was sort of, it forced my hand to actually, go deep. So I remember, during the COVID, I had like Zoom Fit 30. And I know that because it's still my username on one of my PayPal accounts. And I was literally doing three 30-minute Zoom, fitness sessions every day for all my old clients, any other, their friends, family, anyone that was stuck in hotels. And we're making good money, like $1,000 a week on 3 sessions a day, where it was literally a camera in the shed and me just doing the workout with them, and follow along sort of style workouts, and
Yep.
then chatting to a screen that had 10, 20 different titles on it with all different pictures. And sort of that proved to me that as with every other personal trainer in the world who also went online at the same time, that there is money here. And if you actually, slowly build that audience and, do it with a real purpose and not just do it for a quick cash grab, there is opportunities to, change people through, online. And that sort of got us through that COVID period. And then out of that, grew the Fit Dad lifestyle. As well. So the original ebook, even though it was targeted towards dads, it was just under my own personal name, because I thought I was the next great success under my own personal banner rather than a company. So
What was it that made you go to the company? Because I've tossed and turned over that over the years. Is like, do I build because one side of the internet's like build your personal brand under your own name, like that's the way to do it. And then the flip side is like build a company and if you're looking to sell it in the future. So that's why I went with the Man That Can project. But then there's still parts of me around like, oh, maybe I could have just stayed as Lachlan Stuart. That would have been so much easier for all the other crap going on in my life. But
yeah,
there is pros and cons. So what was it that made you sort of lean into the fit dad lifestyle?
mate, I think there's probably a little bit of lack of self belief in myself as a brand or as a name, and then also at the time I didn't want it to just be about me. So I wanted it, in the interim, I wanted other coaches, other dads to be sort of part of that banner. So if I had it under a company, then I could slot multiple people under there. Whereas if it was just all under my name, if something happened to me, and I experienced it in the group fitness, when I had other trainers and staff taking classes for me, people would realize I was away or wasn't there for that session and they wouldn't come. It was so much reliant on me and my style of training.
Mm.
And I just didn't want to experience that again. I really wanted it to be, about the macro and not sort of the micro of, who it was and when it was. Um, so yeah, and then I guess the other part is just protection. Being in an online business, we set up like a discretionary trust and then another holding company and then another company underneath that. So we started selling supplements at the same time as well, and we had a business partner come on board with that. So it was just a lot of protection, I guess, for the family assets and me personally, to just sort of allow us to have those things in place in case something went pear shaped.
What was it that made you to then expand into supplements?
Yeah, because by this stage the group had about 2 or 3 thousand dads in it, and one of the group guys in there, because I was always doing workouts like my favorite time training is like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. Just it's my own time. There's no distractions, no notifications, no screaming kids. It's literally just me versus me. Listen to a podcast, a book, just music, whatever it is, and it's just one time where no one's pulling me from 26 different angles. So I put a meme up one day. There should be a energy drink called 4 a.m. Toddler, and someone said you should start your own supplement company. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. So one of the guys in the group said, hey, one of my good friends who I went to school with owns Australia's largest supplement manufacturer. Do you want me to connect you? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So it was just, sort of putting a meme up to one of our members saying, hey, you should do it. Do you want an intro to, Aiden and Phil, the guys that I was in, partnership with the supplements and still involved in stuff today with them. And yeah, it sort of naturally progressed. We developed an energy range, a hydration range, and a recovery range. Then we bought out, protein powders and kids hydration as well. And yeah, sort of what started as an idea went to do, 500,000 in revenue in its first couple of years. So it was pretty, crazy sort of journey from, a meme to selling, 10,000 products.
It's incredible. And it's cool to see. I'm just thinking about the journey that you've gone on, and I'm definitely sure that along the way, for anyone listening, it sounds like it just has been super easy for you to achieve all of these things, but there would be a lot of skills that you've had to develop, challenges that or problems that you've had to overcome in order to do those. Like even online business is different to selling supplements, I can imagine, with the rules and regulations around all of that sort of stuff. So to be able to manage that and also the online business, obviously it's one of the cool things of having the brand, right? As well, you can, if it aligns with and continues to add value to it, you can add more products and services on top of that. And that's one of the things that I love about, I guess, the online space and even the health and fitness space is like, there's so many different ways you can help people. And if it aligns and you've found value in it and you understand it, you can make it another offering to people to add more value as well, which also, to flip it on its head, it continues to grow your revenue and grow your business as well.
Mate, 100%. And that's probably one of the things that I've always done everything myself. So whether it be editing podcasts, whether it be the website, I've had, if I need a logo made, I'll hire, a graphic designer. But literally everything to do with the business from when I got out of the army has been a one-man band. And I'm not a master in anything, but I guess I am a jack of all trades. Like I know the back end of, Shopify, I know the back end of Facebook, I know the back end of, Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram, Spotify, all the different stuff. And I know enough that I can get stuff done. And when I need to get over that hurdle or that, speed hump that I might come across, it's as simple as just going to YouTube. And there is literally, and even now with ChatGPT, it's even easier, but back in the day, it was the university of YouTube. If I didn't know something, it was a 10-minute tutorial to figure it out. I didn't need to go to uni and study, website design or study, marketing. It was just sort of trial and error. All right, that didn't work. Let's try it this way. Yep, that worked. All right, let's keep moving forward. Hit the next speed hump. All right, don't know the answer to that. Yep, watch this YouTube tutorial. Yep, got the answer. Keep moving on. And even today, like I'm in a position now where we're going through a complete rebrand and a complete overhaul, and I'm actually outsourcing and paying people to do it properly. Finally, I've got to the stage where I'm losing a bit of, or gaining a bit of trust in other people, and not, realizing that it doesn't all have to be on my shoulders. And but I wouldn't trade what I've done in the past, because now I can actually have conversations with these professionals and understand what they're talking about, and understand if they're talking about something in the back end of Meta, or talking about something on the back end of Shopify, or a bit of coding, or a bit of, their reasoning behind this type of branding versus something else. I actually understand it. And it's not like I'm just going in blindfolded and just, accepting what they say and paying what they are. I can actually push back and answer a few questions with question to sort of get to that result that I want to move to.
It's such a cool way of looking at it, because there's two sort of camps with that. There's a camp of people who are always getting ready to get ready, and they feel like they need to know everything about marketing, the most incredible business plan before they even do anything. And as we've all found out through doing it, it's like you can have the best plan possible, but shit doesn't generally go to plan. So the best way is to just start. Like you'll figure out and be faced with the problems that you need to solve as you go. And as you said, YouTube, like the best subscription I have is YouTube Premium. It's like
mate,
just
I'm exactly
watch
the
stuff.
same.
It's epic. Like even when you go for a run, you just have it on in your pocket and always learning about different things. And there is so much value in there to be able to build the things that you want. And as you said, now with ChatGPT, it's just like everything is just so quick. And I think it's such an exciting time for people to start taking more control over their finances and their lifestyle by building out something similar to what both you and I have done. It's I guess a problem in our life, for you is leaning on health and fitness. For me, it was leaning on health and fitness to improve my mental health. and then recognizing that we're not alone in this and starting to share and document the journey and then provide potential solutions for that, and building community. And that just continues to evolve, right? Like that's sort of how you landed in on the Fit Dad. So how did you, I guess, pinpoint that you wanted to work with dad specifically?
Um, it was sort of a natural progression based upon just my love of just training with the kids. So predominantly in the group fitness world, and it's pretty common in all like the F45s or fit stops or all these kind of things now, is about 80% female. So for the first 6, 7 years of my personal training or group fitness journey, it was actually, predominantly females. And that was just because, you know, guys, and I'm exactly the same. I knew it all. I would rather go to the gym or go hit a boxing bag than go listen to a personal trainer with 20 other girls on a beach and do, burpees and do push-ups and, use a torsion bar for 45 minutes. And, that was sort of my mentality. I'm like, I understood exactly why we didn't have more guys, down there. That was, because they're busy. They know it all. They've got everything sorted out. They're either playing footy or, move there. But, um, my love for fitness didn't stop once we sold the companies, and obviously working overseas, where we could train twice a day. Coming back to the holidays, we'd always want to maintain that fitness. To just obviously keep on top of our own health and wellness. And I didn't realize that um, I was going to go in the direction of training with dads, but our children grew up in the fitness space. They would always be coming to the group fitness sessions. If we run a Bali or Thailand retreat, we'd take them with us. They'd be standing on the beach or coming on, different adventures. And they were just always embedded into it. And it got to a stage where me and my wife would just be doing a training session, and one of the kids would come up and just start imitating, a push-up, or maybe they were sleeping, or a bit whiny, but we still wanted to train. So we'd just hold them and, do some squats, or hold them and do some crunches, or, to make them smile and sort of change that emotional state that they might have been in, throw them up in the air, and then they were starting to laugh. So we added a squat into it. And it was just all these different little progressions that to us were just having fun. It was never doing it with the idea of like, hey, we could train with our kids and turn this into a lucrative, sort of lifestyle business on the side. It was sort of just naturally progressive, filming it because we're like, oh, this is cool. Our kids are training with us, and posting it on our personal Facebook page. But then, multiple people at the time, just friends and family, reaching out, hey, can you do up a program for me and my kid? And it was just sort of, it was like a natural progression. It was sort of, it wasn't planned. But then at the time, and even still now, even though my kids are a lot older, it's still such a passion because, I'm a really big believer in, practicing what I preach, and our kids are, always imitating and learning from what we do more often than what we say. And a prime example yesterday, and it will run true for any other father listening to this. I can scream at my kids or tell my kids to clean the lounge room, their room, outside 26 times, and they just ignore you for the first half, and then whine about why they can't, then try and bribe you with pocket money or something, a toy or some credit on their phone for the other half until they eventually do it. Whereas if I just walk over there and start cleaning that lounge room or the room or outside and say, hey, can you come give us a hand? It will be done in 2 minutes. They come over straight away. There's no whining. There's no emotional blackmail. There's no complaining. It's just because I'm there actually physically doing it. They're like, okay, well, you're doing it. I'll come help you. And it's just, it's interesting how that mindset works with them. If they see you doing something, more often than not, they'll want to do it, or at least be curious enough to want to know why you're doing it. Whereas if I tell them to do something, if I told my son to go do some pull-ups or some push-ups or go for a run around the block that we live on or whatever, not a chance in the world. Whereas the minute I put my shoes on and go outside and start training, I guarantee both kids are there. They want to play footy in between. They want to sit next to me and do some abs. They want to come for a run or even just ride their scooter next to me. Like, they just want to be involved and want to be present with you.
It's so cool. Children seem to be a reason why a lot of people don't look after their health and don't prioritize their relationship. For you, it's been the opposite. Why do you feel that is?
Um, I think we've so we homeschool our kids. So Harry, he went to school for the first year or two, and then COVID happened. Obviously, everyone homeschooled for that short period, but then we never took him back. So we're very fortunate that our kids are with us 24/7, unless I'm working overseas or traveling or whatever. So we're basically in that family dynamic. So for us, it it's just second nature. It's what we've always done. For other people, I think they convince themselves out of that 168 hours in a week that they don't have time. And I think that's the biggest thing that I find with other dads and even mums or people in general. You know, they don't have time to keep on top of their health and fitness because of school commitments, of commuting
Mm.
to and from work, of meetings because of this, that, and everything else. But every person that says that to me over the years, I challenge them right then and there to send me a screenshot of their screen time app on their phone. And I'm like, you've got no time to train, do you? No, I cannot literally do 15 minutes a day. I'm like, that's all I need to do, just 15 minutes a day at minimum, like bare minimum. If you can just do that, we can work on everything else. They send me the screen time app. It's literally 7 hours on social media in the last couple of days. And it's, Netflix and it's YouTube and it's this, that, and everything else. And I go to them, I said, what's your job? Oh, I'm a chippy. I'm a, work in the mines. So you don't need to be on social media 7 hours. It's not like your career. You're not social media marketing or run an online business in your phones. No, no. I'm like, well, there's 7 hours that we've just now got straight
Found.
away. And then, we've got the YouTube here, and then we've got, game here, and you've got sports bet here, and you've got this, that. I'm like, I just found you 10 to 15 hours, and you can't give me, an hour and a half over the course of a whole week at absolute minimum. And like the puppy dog face they give you straight away on like a Zoom or on a FaceTime, it's like, fuck, I've just fucking been bullshitting, not only to you, but to myself, because I'm prioritizing all these things that don't actually move me closer to my goals, dreams, and aspirations. And, you know, in turn, like I can guarantee their kids are also sitting on the iPad on the couch because they're seeing dad just lay on the couch or sit on the bed on his phone or on the shitter or, wherever it is. Like it's
Yeah.
just the natural flow-on effect. And the only way to break that curse and break that, negativity passing on to our kids is to do it ourselves. But first of all, we've got to match our, priorities with our goals and make sure that that calendar actually matches up with everything. Because until that stage happens, or until you convince yourself that it can happen, it's just passing on all these bad habits and all this sort of negativity down the line that eventually will, transcend into generations to come.
You did a post a while back, and it was 10 tips for dads, and number nine was goal setting is a must. Why do you feel goal setting is so important? Probably just to continue on from what we are talking about there.
Yeah, I think if you haven't got anything to work towards, you can find yourself very easy to fall into a rut. If you haven't got, and that goal doesn't necessarily need to be, one of the big things I preach is just be 1% better than yesterday. That's all you need to do.
Mm.
Like if you can beat yesterday, you will never lose. There is no possible way you can lose if you continually beat yesterday. So it could be, you might be starting out after 5 years of ill health and run 100 meters. Like next week it might be, or tomorrow it might be 110. Like you don't need to change 5 years of bad habits overnight. And if you haven't got goals to work towards, then, you just find yourself when the going gets tough and, you might be over here when it's winter. So typically in summer it's 4:30, we're out running, all well and good, but now we're out running, it's 11 degrees, it's dark till 6 a.m. or 6:30. And, these are the days and times where everyone falls off the bandwagon because they've got nothing to, push them or motivate them or encourage them to keep, moving forward. And, if you're not hitting those milestones, and those milestones don't need to be much, like you might plan to run 5Ks by the end of the year. Like your milestone after month 2 could be, 1,500 meters or 3,500 meters. Like it doesn't need to be much, but at least if you've got a target to hit, then it's going to keep you on the track. And when you do get too cold or do get injured or do get overwhelmed, it's easy to go back and, well, this is my purpose. This is why I'm actually going down this route. This is why I'm doing, this task. There is a bigger meaning to do it. It could be a charity fun run. It could be, something with your best friend and you don't want to let him down. It could be, something for your kids. It could be, color run with your family. And, one of the things that I've, probably changed a lot of my mindset on in the past, I would say probably recently. So it was only about 4 years ago. I was always training because I wanted to look good on the socials. Like I wanted to be that next influencer. I wanted to be that next, whatever, it is online, because I thought in my head that that's what people wanted and that's how I would make money if I looked good and, sold myself. But there was one day, and I'll tell you the story. So we're at the snow park over in Queenstown and we were tobogganing with the kids. It was like an hour pass and it was this 50-meter incline. Our kids were, too young to, well, I think they walked the first lap and then after that their, legs are about to fall off and they're broken. So it was like chuck them on the toboggan, drag them up, push them back down. And it was like literally rinse and repeat for an hour. There was another family. So there was just us, me and another family in this hour pass. A guy probably 5 years older, a couple of kids about the same age. Literally, they got 15 minutes in. He couldn't pull his kids anymore. He was about 30 to 40 kilos overweight. It was freezing cold. You're in all the snow gear and all that kind of stuff. And he actually looked like he was about to keel over and, have a heart attack. And his kids are screaming, "Dad, just one more time, Dad, just one more time." And he just physically couldn't do it. And their kids were at the same sort of age where it was too much for them to walk up and navigate the push down by themselves. We finished the hour of that, toboggan, went into the cafeteria to get a drink and the feed before we, drove back down to Queenstown. And here they are eating, deep fried everything, pies, sausage rolls, chips, every one of them, even including the kids, have got Cokes and soft drinks and whatever else. And I think that was my biggest realization. Like, you're not training for yourself anymore. Like you've got to, look after yourself, both physically and mentally, but I'm training so I never have to say no to my kids. I'm training so my kids never have to experience what those kids did that day. They're just innocent kids who want to, probably travel halfway across the world to, come here and have all these different experiences. And because of the dad's ill health and, his physical inability, these kids need to miss out. I never want my kids to have to miss out. And that was probably the realization that, I train for fatherhood now. I don't train for, myself to look good in front of the camera for hundreds of thousands of people.
It's a great realization to have. And I think that's one of the cool things about goal setting, but also long-term thinking. A lot of people wake up at a certain period in their life and they either are in a terrible relationship, they're in a body that they're not proud of and lack energy, or they just don't have the finances. And by then it's not too late, but they're in a position that they don't want to be in. And had they thought about that earlier, which most people have access to now with the internet and everything like that, it's like if I see myself in 10 years' time knowing that I'll have children and knowing that I want to be a present parent, what does that mean for my finances? What does my business need to look like? What do I need to be doing now so that I have developed the habits and not just going to go from working 80-hour weeks to all of a sudden working 20-hour weeks, because we all know that doesn't happen. And you start building those habits, routines, and developing those skills as you go. And the thing that really upsets me is people don't think about that. They're just like, and there's some people have the choice and other people are just trying to survive. And so I understand that. And that's why, for me now, circling back around to what we said before, what you and I have both created with online business or even just working for yourself, you have a lot more control over your finances. And a lot of people at the moment are just trying to create or generate income so that they can have a bit more freedom in their life to then start thinking about, hey, how can I improve my relationship, or how can I spend more time with their kids? There was number 6 on the 10 tips for dads was plan, prepare, execute. And I think that's what we sort of tie into. When you think about planning, preparing, and executing, what does that look like for you in the things that you do in your life?
Yeah, mate, I apologize for that. I just got a cramp in my hammy as I was sitting here, so I had to jump up very quickly and nearly knock my computer over. Um,
Mate,
Mate,
that's a nine K run and a croissant right
yeah,
there.
yeah, and the sauna, and then straight sitting on the seat here doing a podcast. Um, yeah, mate, I think just planning for the future, and I think you've probably just hit the nail on the head then with, looking 5, 10, 15 years into the future and, realizing where you want to be and where you want to be, not only as an individual, but, as a family unit, with your partner, and making sure that you and your partner are both on the same page as well. There's no use me chasing my goals personally, my health goals, finance goals, and then she chasing something completely different in a different direction, because when you got that family unit, you need that unity, to be on the same page. Not saying that you can't chase your own personal goals, but you also need to be aware of the other person's goals. Because if I don't, tell my partner what I'm chasing, why I'm doing it, and what I need, as an individual to achieve that, or an allocation away from the family responsibilities or whatever it is, then we're just going to keep butting heads and getting to a stalemate of just like, oh, you know, this isn't going to work if you're chasing your dream, you're allocating all this time to yourself, and I'm the one picking up the slack and not being able to do anything on my terms because you're taking all that free time away from us or as a family. And I think it's just planning and preparing your own stuff, making that known as a collective to whether it be your partner, whether it be to your kids, whether it be to business partners, associates, extended family, and then
Mhm.
executing based upon that mission that you've set. And is it always going to pan out? No, but if you don't make that plan and don't prepare adequately, you'll never get to find out in the first place.
Yeah, you'll just continue getting more of the same thing there. That's for sure. What I've read in a lot of your stuff, like legacy comes up.
Yeah.
What legacy do you want to leave?
Mate, probably the biggest legacy that I want to leave to my children is that dad was around, dad was present, dad was, involved in everything we did, and dad never lived a life of regret. And, just to instill those, positive foundations through health, wellness, fitness, and even allowing the kids to, you know, like I know all the answers to my children's problems. I can give them the answer tomorrow, or, in an instant, whatever they're going through at their age now, under the roof. I know the answer to their solution. But if I consistently give them that answer and don't let them, fail or try and overcome that adversity that maybe, and to a kid at 10 years old, it's not really the end of the world. It might be he's lost his YouTube account or something, like that, or, whatever's going on. But, letting them try and figure it out before giving them the answer every single time. And I think, just giving them that confidence to tackle life, and we all know this at the moment. It seems like the world's going crazy in every which way you
Mm.
look at it, from politicians to leadership to health to control to whatever it is out there. And I want to give my kids, and I think one of the biggest keys to my legacy is to give them the ability to tackle whatever a world may look like in 10, 15 years once they get into adulthood with the confidence and the capability to hit that front on and not get to the 18 years old and being sheltered through their parents, sheltered through the schooling system, sheltered through life, and then get there and go, shit, what do I do? Or how do I do this? Or why do I do it? And how do I avoid falling down that, pit of depression, anxiety, fear, and getting sucked into everything that everyone else wants you to believe, and not actually having a voice and having the capability to tackle those problems or overcome those obstacles, yourself.
That's cool. I think it's one thing I really, I guess, stood out from that was the idea that in order to be able to set your children up with the ability to navigate and solve their own problems and develop critical thinking, you first have to be able to do that for yourself as well. Because in order to probably step back and allow that to happen, you need to understand what's going on and why it's happening. Whereas the helicopter parenting is people who probably have a lot of their own, whether you want to call it trauma or shit going on in their life, that they don't want that to happen to their kid because they haven't learned to work through it and let go and move on. Um, and once again, that's different for everyone in saying that, but the idea of allowing people to fail and make mistakes is such an important skill to develop.
Yeah, mate, definitely. It's one of those things that if we continuously give our kids the answers or the solutions or the finances or the help, and you see it, and I don't want to stereotype anyone, but you see it like with high profile or high commercial business owners who are sending their kids to private school, and the kids never need for anything. They never want for anything. Everything's given to them. Everything's yes. Everything's it, they never need to want, do, or need for any of those things that an everyday person or everyday family struggles with or needs to save up for or needs to go through a bit of heartache to eventually get to that position. And it's also, and this is only based on personal experience from when I went through school, these kids who have been given everything their whole life on a pedestal and gone to the ritzy schools and gone to the ritzy universities are the ones that fall flat on their feet once they have to actually take control of their own life and actually have to do things for themselves, because they haven't got the bank of dad there. They haven't got the advisors or the yes man to continuously give them the right answers. And it's the same when you get to the real world, and all these kids have always been given a pat on the back, or you see it with the schools now, like participation trophies and ribbons and all this kind of stuff. Whereas when you turn 18 and go out to the real world, you don't get a pat on the back if you fail that job interview. You don't get a pat on the back when, or a trophy when your sports team doesn't make the grand final. Like they're growing up in this mindset of like, oh, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work out, I'll still be right and still get helped over here. And they don't understand that it's win or lose in the real world. And if you're not teaching your kids the importance of that at this age, then what do you expect them to take into adulthood and then pass on to generations to come, once they hit that adversity that might get thrown at them?
Yeah, spot on. Leroy, thanks so much for joining me on the show, man. It's been a pleasure to sort of learn more about what you've created, how you're creating it, and what you're doing moving forward. For people who are listening, who would love to find out more about what you're doing and how they can get involved, where can people find all your links and socials and all of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, mate. No, I appreciate the time. It's been amazing to jump on here and been following your journey for a while, and everything since the world record attempt of the rower, and then one of my good mates I was in the army with, Dale. He completed, I think, or did the same one recently as well, like a year
he
ago.
did it
So
recently as well. He did an
yeah,
amazing
so
job. We had a yarn as well.
yeah, yeah. So mate, but on the socials, the Fit Dad Lifestyle, that is where you'll find it on whatever social platform you're after, and then the fitdadlifestyle.com is the website for anything like that.
for everyone listening, I'll put all of that in the show notes below. So it's a simple click away. And if you've got value from the episode, make sure you go reach out to Leroy. He's got over, or let's say, decades worth of experience and insight on not only how to build that fit dad lifestyle, but also be a great husband and partner and father, and also just develop a great lifestyle. I think that's one of the key points. A lot of people aren't happy statistically. I think it's like 73% of, no, that maybe that's the obesity, but there's a large number of people who are unhappy in the workplace, and there's also a ridiculous number of people who are obese and overweight in Australia and here in the States as well. So I think anyone who is providing opportunities for people to upskill or be part of a community that can help them grow and develop, I think is doing awesome work. So I appreciate you coming on, Leroy.
No worries, mate. Highly appreciate it. Thank you.